Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I've been asked multiple times by my followers to comment about the paper that is going through publication for Dr. McCall and some, I think there's two other authors on the paper dealing with treatment for the inoculation of 2020. And there's two types that's in the paper. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my comment about this. I think it's self-evident why it's problematic. And there's a bigger issue that needs to be addressed with Dr. McCall. Um, so before we do that, please make sure that you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. Please subscribe. I get multiple strikes, and it's for you to see the premieres. I have to kind of do whack-a-mole kind of stuff and publish on all these different channels. In addition, my safe harbors are Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. So make sure you subscribe to all 7 channels. All the links are in the description of this video. Also follow me on X and GETTR. Links are in the description of this video. You can also listen to audio podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Podomatic. Links are in the description of this video. In addition, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and purchase the health products that I offer. And take a look at the ebooks that I have. I have a lecture series on immunology and pulmonology in the classes section, only for $50. You get a lot of information for $50. You get PDF files and videos accompanying those PDF files. And if you would like to help support my work, because most of my videos are for free, thousands of videos I have are for free to people. So that's possible because of the people that donate. So please donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. You can do that through the links that are on my homepage on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Click those links at the bottom of the homepage, and you can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. Also, please be a paid member on my Patreon account. There are 4 tier levels. The first tier level is you are just helping support the channel. The second, third, and fourth tiers get different access to the video content for the lecture series that I do on immunology and pulmonology. I'll be doing other ones. Infectious diseases is probably going to be the next one. So with that said, please go to the store and take a look at the health products and the other products that I offer. Okay, so Dr. McCall went on, first of all, it's in preprint, a paper, and this diagram is from that paper. I believe there are 3 authors on the paper. And he went on Alex Jones to promote his protocol and the paper. This happened last week. All right. And I've had many people ask me to do a comment on the paper. First of all, I want to state that his protocol is nattokinase, turmeric, or the active ingredient in turmeric, and bromelain, which is a proteolytic and fibrinolytic compound. So his protocol is designed to break up glycoproteins, break up clots, right, and reduce inflammation. If people have been following my protocol that I've been saying for 4 years, now Dr. McCall came out with his protocol in 2023, is my understanding. And my protocol has been out for since 2020. My protocol is much more comprehensive, and it deals with the post 2020 pathologies. All right, and how to try to mitigate those. So my protocol is this. It's structural nanosilver liquid, where you take a teaspoon of it a day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or two a day. You take the turmeric and the ashwagandha, which brings down the inflammation and helps control the blood glucose through the ashwagandha. You take the D3 that helps to get rid of to help do apoptosis of cells that have been infected, and also help with gene expression, because D3 is the gene expression cofactor. Taking the digestive enzyme complex that I have has proteolytic and fibrinolytic compounds in it. So that means that it breaks up clots, and that means it breaks up glycoproteins. Lignans help to boost up your immune system. And C60 is a very strong antioxidant that helps to bring down the cellular stress and to help boost up your mitochondrial health so you have more ATP. So if you follow that protocol, the max 35, the turmeric, the ashwagandha, the D3, the C60, the lignans, the digestive enzymes, and in addition, the omega-3, which helps to improve your lipid profile and reduce the stickiness of red blood cells, that protocol helps to improve your immune system, bring down the inflammation, bring down the cellular stress, increase the probability of breaking down glycoproteins, and increasing the probability of breaking down the blood clots through fibrolytic pathways. My protocol, compared to Dr. McCall's protocol, is far more comprehensive, far more. It's more expensive, but it's far more comprehensive. It will help to boost up your immune system and bring down that pro-inflammatory response and slow down the aging process. And if you do some of the other things that I've been telling everybody to do, like taking MK2, taking K2 MK7, all right, taking K2 MK7, and these other compounds like B complex and some of the other things that I offer on the store, it's going to, in addition, improve your path to proper health with all these other holistic approaches, like moderate exercise, making sure that you have a proper diet, getting proper sleep, challenging your mind, talking to people, staying away from negative content on the internet, and proper stretching and balancing. These are all holistic approaches to improve your immune system. Why is this important? Because in the post-2020 era that we are in now, there are increases in cancers. There are problems with cardiovascular disease, increases in blood clotting, problems with memory. The aging process is advancing in a post-2020 crisis era. And so that's why it's so important to try to learn from preventative medicine, try to learn from longevity studies, try to learn from proper diet, exercise, stretching, balancing, and supplementation can mitigate these problems. My solution to the post-2020 era is far more comprehensive than anything that Dr. McCall provides. In addition, I provided it back in I told everybody in 2020 what I was doing and how to do the same things that I'm doing to improve your health and improve your immune system. It is really important to improve your immune system and improve your cardiovascular health. In addition, there is the myocarditis problem that is in this, post 2020 crisis era. And I have stated that it's about bringing down that inflammatory response and letting the heart heal. And if you do this without over exercising, over time, over a 5-year period, your heart will improve. Doesn't mean it'll go back to baseline if you have myocarditis, but it will improve and reduce the chances of sudden death syndrome. If you listen to me, you're gonna do better. Dr. McCall's protocol doesn't really focus on improving your immune system like mine does. So, keep in mind who the people that were the trailblazers compared to the people that actually are just copying other people's original work. If you really listen to Dr. McCall, there is nothing that he says that's original. Nothing. Not even this diagram is original content. All right. His protocol is not original content. His understanding of myocarditis is not original content. His understanding of what happened at the labs pre-2020 isn't original content. He can't even get the story straight. He can't even get the story straight past 2016. His content is not original about the scheduling for the neonates and the adolescents for inoculations. The proof is in the pudding. First of all, it was Wakefield that was a trailblazer on that subject. In terms of inoculations and the problems with the manufacturing of them, he's not a trailblazer on that. You know who was a trailblazer on that? Was Wakefield and Mikovits. Those were trailblazers, even though Mikovits has other issues. But she was 100% right about the manufacturing problems and the filtration problems. So Dr. McCall, there's nothing that he says is original. I have not found anything that's original content. Not one thing. He's a celebrity doc. He's like Dr. Oz or Dr. Drew that wants to be a celebrity and potentially be an expert witness in inoculation injury. There is the issue. So he can't get the story straight on what really happened, going all the way back into the early 80s with the early research that was going on in the United States. He doesn't admit to you that myocarditis is caused by pathogens too. I mean, for a person that's a cardiologist, beta coronaviruses are known to cause myocarditis. I mean, that's just a fact. That was part of the reason why it was investigated in the 1980s as a potential means for biowarfare. There's nothing that I have seen yet from Dr. McCall that's original. The protocol is not original, and it's not comprehensive. And it came out way later than what I said. Secondly, he can't get the story straight on what the actual development arc was out of the University of North Carolina with Barrick. And it seems to me that he wants to be celebrity doc. And he was way late on the party in terms of cancers, but that's not his specialty. He's not an oncologist. He's a cardiologist. All right. So with that said, there's nothing that I have seen from him that is original. It's borrowed content from other original thinkers. Borrowed from me, borrowed from Mikovits, borrowed from Wakefield, and borrowed from others. If people really remember during the primary debate, during the primary debates for the Republican Party in 2016, remember when Carson, Ben Carson was running for president against Donald Trump? There was a debate over at the Ronald Reagan Library. I think maybe it was run by Fox for the debate. I don't remember which media outlet actually ran the debate, but there was a question about scheduling for inoculations, and there was a serious concern about the over inoculation scheduling, and that's what Carson said on the stage. That was in 2016. And Wakefield's been saying this way before that. So there's not really much that's original. Okay. Then I also said that there are loss of function capability of the inoculation and of the pathogen in 2020. I'm being careful with the words I say because of censorship. So just bear with me, because I want this on YouTube, if possible, where I talked about Dicer and risk. All right. And Cartico being the inventor of the mRNA platform, not Malone. All right. And how risk and Dicer can be involved in shutting down certain processes, such as tumor suppressors. So if you have a tumor suppressor, inhibitor, then the chances of cancer go up. All right. So, I talked about that years ago. So just, keep that in mind. All right. Now, going to the paper by the three authors that they're in pre-published, and one of those authors are McCall. So McCall and others. All right. I don't think he's the lead author on the paper. Okay. With that said, there are two types of, quote, therapy to try to neutralize the mRNA. Okay. And to me, this is very self-evident, but people want my opinion. Okay, so I'll walk you through the two different methods. The first method is this siRNA. Okay. And what this is it's basically a small sequence that can inhibit. Okay. So first, what happens is that there's an individual that gets an inoculation, and that inoculation has this LNP with the mRNA. Okay. And it gets into the cell. And what normally happens is that a few things happen, but it's creating, obviously, glycoproteins. All right. And then they're presented to the MHC to elicit an immune response. But there's leakage of the glycoproteins, and lots of other pathologies start to happen. Okay. But we don't want to get into the details of that for this lecture. So you're inoculated. All right. And you have the code from the inoculation in the cell. the thought process is here because the mRNA is stays around for a while for multiple reasons. And the thought here is that you would create a treatment to be able to silence the messenger RNA. Now, to silence that messenger RNA from the inoculation, you have to give another inoculation with a LNP. This is what Dr. McCall is proposing. Another LNP, that's a lipid nanoparticle, all right, containing an siRNA. Now, the siRNA is smaller, so it has a different recipe for the LNP. So it's not going to be the same, but there are reactions to the LNPs that cause disruption. And you got to remember, for these LNPs to be stable for shipping, they also have to be frozen and all this stuff, that they have compounds that are different than the actual cell, their surface, and can be inflammatory. All right. So these LNPs are sort of kind of like antifreeze. All right. They have an antifreeze kind of component to its recipe to make them stable. All right. So he's proposing to use LNPs, which is not a great idea because they're inflammatory. And we really don't know the long-term effects of LNPs, especially if you have repeated exposure to LNPs. Then he's proposing that you package a small inhibitory RNA. Okay, so it's just this siRNA that's packaged in the LNP, and that will fuse with the membrane of the cell. And you're going to have quite a bit of concentration of this because you don't know which cells actually have the inoculated mRNA, right? You don't know which cells have it. So the concentrations for administration have to be high to make sure that you're getting good coverage. So you have a lot of LNPs with an siRNA, perhaps multiple doses, and they fuse to the cell. And let's just say they find a cell that happens to have the inoculated mRNA. Okay. So what happens is that this siRNA will react with an enzyme called RISC. All right. This is part of the whole dicer and RISC pathway that I talked about before, but it takes RISC, and this binds to RISC, and then RISC will pull apart the double RNA. Okay. And the part that sticks with the RISC will find the floating messenger RNAs in the cell and bind to them. And what will happen is that there will be a process where it actually cleaved and degrades the inoculated mRNA. Okay. So it sounds great. Okay. You're clearing it. Right. The problem comes in is that you have LNPs that cause an inflammatory response, most likely causing some of, not all, but some of the clotting issues. In addition, the siRNAs would have to be proven to make sure that it doesn't cause some other cellular problem. Like, what happens if this code ends up shutting down tumor suppressor messenger RNAs? If you shut down a tumor suppressor messenger RNA, then you're going to increase the chances of cancer. So what's actually the siRNA sequence, Dr. McCall? So this is more theory than actual usage. In addition, what happens if this code or this code ends up getting integrated into the genome? And the complement that's attached to the, let's say, so you have this siRNA, right? This could be accidentally integrated into the genome. And if it's in a coding region, creating a lot of this. Well, what happens if that becomes problematic and causes some sort of pathology? Maybe cancer. Maybe it gets integrated into a region that's a tumor suppressor gene. And now it's a fusion, it's a tumor suppressor protein that's fused with this code for the siRNA. Well, now the tumor suppressor protein doesn't work anymore. Coded therapies are dangerous because there's no guarantee that it doesn't get integrated in the genome. All right. So if everything works, what would happen is that you have a floating inoculated messenger RNA, and you have this siRNA that's coming from a lipid nanoparticle. It attaches to RISC. This RISC will break it apart. All right. Break apart the double-stranded RNA that's small. All right. And then it's going to go and hunt down for the inoculated messenger RNA and then silence it and degrade. Okay. This is how cells control the expression of certain genes through the messenger RNA and degrading it. They also can control expression of genes by degrading the proteins that they're created. But this is one method, all right? But when you start adding these LNPs that cause an inflammatory response that potentially activates line 1, human line 1, and causes some sort of integration of this code into the genome. And then people would say, well, this is an RNA, and to get into the genome, it would need to be DNA. Well, you know, the thing is that we're starting to find out that there are reverse transcription capability endogenous in the cell. So that means that it can take this and create a reverse transcription and make it into DNA. And let's just say a small component of this ends up getting integrated without reverse transcription, all right? But it's let's say just one, let's say it's integrated. We have either integrated through single or double strand. We have, and because you have RNA, you have the uracil. Well, we have capability within our cell to actually check, take out, excise the uracil, and actually put in the right nucleotide. And this is the problem with the molecular biologists. They don't realize on how dynamic the cell is. And that there are things that can happen that you think would not normally happen. This is dangerous. Dangerous because LNPs are inflammatory, and dangerous because you really don't know what this siRNA is going to be doing to the genome, potentially integration, but also potentially shutting down tumor suppressors. All right. And there's nothing, right, stopping this from accidentally being added into some sort of virus that's in a cell, and it gets recombined. So these siRNAs could accidentally, either through the splitting from RISC or not through the splitting or RISC, there are viruses that are double-stranded RNAs. There are viruses that are single-stranded RNAs. And if this process, this LNP with an siRNA is in a cell with virus, there's a chance that there's recombination. Oh, Dr. McCall didn't tell you that. Bad idea. Bad idea. Needs a lot of further research. A lot. You know, maybe this process works for some types of diseases to be able to silence some diseases are caused by a fusion protein, right? And if you have an siRNA and you want to silence that fusion protein to kind of mitigate that disease, that it might work. But the problem is that you're using complementary code to try to silence something that has so much capability. This spike, this glycoprotein was designed to hit multiple receptors, and it has tumor suppressor capability with P53 inhibition. So what if you take the wrong complement and you actually increase the chances of suppressing tumor suppressor protein 53? Huh? Dr. McCall? Bad idea. Bad idea. All right. Next is a different way to kind of mitigate the inoculation. The patient ends up getting inoculated and they have the inoculation of the mRNA. And then the thought process is, okay, instead of using an siRNA, all right, a small sequence that would inhibit and then allow for cleavage through RISC, you package the L and P instead with a protein. But the problem is the L and P is inflammatory. All right. And again, to make it stable, and the way this would work, you would also have to have multiple injections that, or and high doses of this stuff, because you don't know which cells have been, brought in with the messenger RNA inoculation. So you have this lipid nanoparticle that causes an inflammatory response, may cause some clotting issues, may exacerbate the clotting issue, may exacerbate strokes, may cause other types of disruption that we really don't understand. Because again, to make this stable, it's kind of like antifreeze. So, okay. So it's packaged with a protein. And what's in this protein? This protein has a ligand for the messenger RNA okay? And it also has a ligand for DNase. DNase breaks down, I'm sorry, not DNase, RNase. So you have a ligand that attaches the messenger RNA, and you have a ligand that activates RNase, okay? And then you have some sort of conjugation here. Now, this ligand, all right, could be a protein, right? Or it could actually potentially be even code, complementary code, all right? But most likely some sort of protein that has found some sort of attachment or affinity to a series of sequence within the inoculated mRNA. Okay, because you think about it, the nucleotides have a certain chemical charge and a certain topology, a certain three-dimensional structure. But when you add these nucleotides together, you're going to get a more complex three-dimensional structure. And if you have a ligand that can attach or bind to that region, then whatever is conjugated to it would help to bring in the RNase. Okay. Now, if you have a ligand that attaches to a certain area of the inoculation of the messenger RNA, then what will happen is that this ligand to activate the endogenous RNase will come in and then start breaking it apart. The RNase would break it apart. Okay. Now, it is true, assuming that the ligand here is not genetic code, but the ligand is just a protein, this component of it would not be integrated into the genome. Okay. The question is that if this ligand with this ligand to the messenger RNA code, all right, it can't be too big, right? So if it's not too big, because if it's too big, it's going to be an unstable protein. All right. So it may find other code within your body that's similar to the sequence that's actually on the inoculated messenger RNA. So if this ligand attached to endogenous messenger RNA that your body needs, it would go and attack it and break up that messenger RNA in your cell that you need, on top of breaking down the inoculated messenger RNA. So the specificity of this has to be really, really fine-tuned. All right. If it's only 4 nucleotides or even, 6 nucleotides for the ligand, you know what? You're going to have a high chance of having some sort of affinity to other messenger RNA that are endogenous to the cell, and you're going to start breaking it apart. So what if you have a messenger RNA that happens to be for a tumor suppressor gene, and your ligand attaches to the tumor suppressor gene messenger RNA, then this ligand for the endogenous RNase breaks down your tumor suppressor gene messenger RNA, and now you get cancer. Thank you, Dr. McCall, for not doing your homework. This is the problem with playing around with the lipid nanoparticles, which are inflammatory, and there are more like, and we don't know the full effects of this, especially in high doses and repeated doses. And for this to be effective, you would have to do this multiple times. You would have to treat the patient multiple times. In addition, the specificity of this would have to be very fine-tuned to prevent, other catastrophic things that are happening. Now, if this could be fine-tuned and not affect other messenger RNA, if this method is better than this method, than the siRNA, because the siRNA has the chance of potentially integrating into the genome, okay? Or, shutting down, other messenger RNA that the body needs. This, because it's a protein, assuming the ligand is a protein and not code, if it's genetic code, then it's potential that you have this conjugation that breaks apart, and then that code could get integrated. If the specificity isn't fine-tuned, then you may have some sort of collateral damage and breaking up of endogenous RNA that you need. But if it's all protein, this whole protein thing would not integrate into the cell. Problem comes in is that you have an inflammatory response from the LMP. All right. You have a cell that has inoculated messenger RNA, and you're adding inflammatory response to the cell that increases the chances of human line 1, perhaps reverse transcription, and whatever messenger RNA that is in the cell from the inoculation increases the chances of getting integrated into the genome. So this, even though it's a protein, could actually, and this is inflammatory, causes other inoculated messenger RNA in that cell to integrate into the gene. Not a really good idea. Needs further testing, a lot of further testing, like years. So once again, Dr. Paul Cottrell has explained to you some, not all, but some of the negative externalities that could come through this RIBOTAC neutralization or the siRNA therapy that Dr. McCall is promoting. Now, here's the problem with Dr. McCall. He wants to be a celebrity doc. And you know what? The best way to handle it is what I've been saying. Let the body heal. Bring down the inflammation. Take things that will break up glycoproteins. Take things that are fibrinolytic. Take things that will boost up your immune system. And you're going to be able to weather the storm and improve your pre-2020 baseline. You know, you had a pre-2020 baseline. Then we go through the crisis of 2020, right? And now everyone's health curve has gone down. Well, by doing a holistic approach, you're going to improve the probability of shifting your health curve up for your lifespan and vitality. It may not go back to baseline for some people. Now, this doesn't say anything about the integration. It can't stop the integration. Okay? All right. So this gets integrated in the genome for some people. Okay? And let's say it is being coded. Well, it doesn't get it out of the genome. It just keeps on trying to cut it off. Well, that means that every time this is being expressed and you don't have, quote, the therapy, the siRNA therapy, let's assume that the siRNA therapy doesn't cause any negative externalities, then that would mean you would have to have repeated treatment. That sounds like a really bad idea, especially with coated lipid nanoparticles. And in this method, the RIBOTAC, all right, that, assuming, you know, that cell has that messenger RNA has been integrated into the genome, all right, it would need repeated treatment to be able to break up apart whenever that messenger RNA is being coded. Now, this seems to be, this is easier to manufacture. The siRNA is easier to manufacture because you know the code that would silence and that would attach to RISC and then help with the cleavage. That's easy. The harder part is getting a ligand to attach to a certain region that doesn't spill over to other messenger RNA that's endogenous to the cell and cause a negative externality. This part is hard to design. But either way, if you have genomic integration, this doesn't cure the problem. It may mitigate it, but the problem is it may cause other negative externalities. Now, when Dr. McCall went on Alex Jones isn't smart enough to be able to be more discerning about what Dr. McCall is saying. So Dr. McCall basically, from the clip that I saw that has been going viral with Alex Jones and Dr. McCall about this paper, he was promoting his protocol, which is inferior to my protocol. And he was promoting this paper and this concept of the siRNA and the RIBOTAC neutralization. As I have stated, there are potentialities for a negative response in some of these cells. Further testing needs to be made. Now, is it possible for certain types of diseases that some of these methods might be therapeutic? Yes. The problem we have is that we're dealing with a glycoprotein that was designed to hit multiple receptors, 20 plus receptors, okay? And that it has tumor suppression and inhibition capability. That's a problem. That's a problem. And because of the serial passage, we don't know when you're trying to silence the damn thing if the treatment is actually making it worse. A lot of further study needs to be made. And I don't like the idea of a continuous lipid nanoparticle treatment, nor do I like the idea of a lipid nano treatment with an siRNA, especially when it's trying to be some sort of complement to a glycoprotein that's designed to kill. Because remember, that complement that's in risk, the other side of it is the code. Well, what's this? What's going to go on with this? Yeah, you might get a RNase that breaks it apart. You might get integration. You might have this actually causing problems with tumor suppressor genes or tumor suppressor RNA. You don't know. You don't know. So if myocarditis is so prevalent, like Dr. McCall is saying, if blood clots are so prevalent, like Dr. McCall is saying, how does he have the time to be able to be celebrity doc on all these different channels instead of actually treating his patients? He should be 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, treating myocarditis and blood clotting. Not spending time on his radio show, not spending time trying to be a celebrity doc, not spending time going on Alex Jones's shows. He should be spending the time to treating patients. If it's as prevalent as he's saying. No, because it's not as prevalent as what he's saying. He has time to do other things. In addition, by being a celebrity doc, it opens up larger cash flows for him. He wants to be a Dr. Drew, a Dr. Oz. That's what's happening. And potentially be an expert witness for inoculation injury. So that's my take on it. I don't think it's a good idea. It might mitigate, but there are other problems that could arise. And this is the problem. This is the same problem that we were, later on with further testing and further investigation with remdesivir. With remdesivir, all right, it's mixed results, but a lot of people had adverse reactions. Okay, so there's a negative externality to the treatment. Same thing here. You can have a negative externality to the treatment. So instead of putting Dr. McCall on a pedestal, why don't you start actually listening to what I have been saying, what Dr. Paul Cottrell has been saying for 4 years. There is nothing that Dr. McCall has said that is unique. Nothing that he has said is original. I have not heard one thing that he said original. It's borrowed from somebody, either from me or from George Webb or from Dr. Kernan, or from Wakefield, Dr. Wakefield, or from Dr. Mikovits, somebody. There's nothing new coming out of this guy, but he's going to be the celebrity doc. And oh, by the way, Dr. Carrico, who actually designed the messenger RNA platform, she happened to start her research for the messenger RNA platform with a cardiologist for gene therapy. So there's some weird thing going on with the platform and the genesis of it with cardiology. I don't trust Dr. McCall. I don't know why. It's a combination of he borrows other people's original thoughts. He can't get the full story really right about the development arc out of Barrick's lab. And his quote treatment or therapy, neutralization or therapy, looks to me like there would be a lot of negative externalities. And his protocol is subpar to what I've been telling people to do for the last 4 years. His protocol doesn't help the immune system. And oh, by the way, what are some of the pathologies that we're talking about here? AIDS-like syndrome, cancers, cardiovascular problems. Neuro issues. There's a pantheon of pathologies that have to be thought through here. And it's the way he kind of talks. How he shakes his head a little bit and kind of like, nods it and moves it to the side and then starts talking. There's kind of like this, I'm listening to you, but I'm not listening to you kind of look. What's important to realize is that you need to be discerning about celebrity docs. Dr. Oz got it wrong. Dr. Drew got it wrong, and then, you got to worry about the ones that are just riding the coattails of original thinkers. And Dr. McCall is one of those people that ride the coattails of original thinkers. Now, I'm an original thinker. There are many others that are original thinkers too. All right. And they've all contributed somewhat to the whole story of the crisis of 2020 and the post-pathologies of 2020. The post-2020 pathologies that we're starting to see. All right. Many people. But I don't like celebrity docs trying to distill it all and then make it seem as though that they're the original thinker. Dr. McCall is not the original thinker by far. By far. I know more about what's going on with the 2020 crisis and the post pathologies of it than Dr. McCall. 100%. So with that said, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Help support my work. If you want to help support an original thinker, this is a great way to do it. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. You can be a paid subscriber to my Patreon channel. All the links are in the description of this video. And better yet, follow my advice. It's about proper diet, proper exercise. Do not overwork your heart. Let it heal. Moderate exercise, moderate stretching and balancing, because it's important to activate that cerebellum and those nerves, and challenge your brain, because there's a lot of people that are starting to get brain fog. And to be able to help mitigate brain fog, take my clarity factor that's on my store. And, proper supplementation. I've already told you the protocol. It's max 35, it's turmeric, it's ashwagandha, it's D3, it's lignans, it's omega-3, it's C60. All right. And be positive. Add a little bit of spirituality in your life. You need to approach this in a holistic way. You don't have to be religious, but a little bit of meditation or spirituality and positive thinking, proper diet, exercise, proper supplementation, proper sleep. All these things will help you heal and build up a better immune system. Instead of having ideas like take another lipid nanoparticle with a code in it. That's ridiculous. All right. Thank you for listening. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and have a nice day.